The eviction notice lay crumpled on the floor, stained by a single tear. Ethan Carter, a Tesla engineer on the verge of a breakthrough, sat motionless in his dimly lit apartment. His hands trembled as he reread the words that sealed his fate. Final notice. Vacate in 7 days. This wasn't just about losing a home, it was about losing hope. Ethan had spent years developing a revolutionary solid-state battery, one that could change the future of electric vehicles. But progress had a price. Between working long hours at Tesla and funneling his savings into materials for independent research, he'd drained everything he had. Bills stacked up, his landlord's patience wore thin. And now, after months of struggling, he had reached a breaking point. He opened his laptop, hovering over an email addressed to his boss, Elon Musk. Subject: resignation. Before he could hit send, a new email notification appeared. The sender's name was unknown. The subject line was just one word: believe. Curious, Ethan clicked. Your work is valuable. Do not give up. You are seen. Your struggles will not be in vain. A door will open soon. Trust the process. There was no name, no contact information, just those words. Ethan's heart pounded. Was this some kind of joke? Or was the universe trying to tell him something? He had no idea that, at that very moment, an unexpected guardian angel was watching him from the shadows. Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves wasn't your typical Hollywood celebrity. He lived modestly, traveled quietly, and most of all, he gave without expecting anything in return. Few knew about his secret philanthropy. While the world saw him as an action star, Keanu saw himself as a silent investor in humanity. Through an anonymous foundation, he helped struggling individuals, often finding them through obscure forums, whispered stories, and chance encounters. Ethan's story had caught his attention one evening while scrolling through an engineer's blog about underappreciated inventors. The post mentioned an unnamed Tesla engineer who was on the verge of losing everything despite working on a potentially industry-changing battery. Something about Ethan's resilience struck a chord. Keanu knew what it felt like to struggle in silence, to wonder if all the effort was worth it, to face the cruel randomness of life. But he also knew what it meant to have someone believe in you, so he decided to act. But not in the way anyone would expect. Instead of simply giving Ethan money, Keanu did something much bigger, something that would change Ethan's fate forever. Keanu Reeves wasn't just going to hand Ethan money. He knew that true success wasn't about charity, it was about recognition. He wanted to make sure Ethan's invention saw the light of day. So, through a network of private investors, Keanu made a move that would rewrite Ethan's future. He reached out to a shell company, one that Keanu secretly owned, and arranged for them to purchase Ethan's battery patents. But there was a catch. The patents wouldn't remain hidden. Instead, the company would transfer full ownership of Ethan's work directly to Elon Musk. No middleman, no corporate buyouts. Just a seamless handoff to someone who could actually bring the technology to life. It was a silent gift, one that neither Ethan nor Elon saw coming. Meanwhile, Ethan sat at his kitchen table, staring at his resignation email. His finger hovered over the send button. Then his phone buzzed. Incoming wire. $250,000. His breath caught in his throat. His heart pounded. His fingers went numb. This had to be a mistake. Then another email arrived. Your patents have been purchased. The buyer believes in your work. No strings attached. Keep building. The world needs your ideas. Ethan nearly fell off his chair. His patents? He had never put them up for sale. He didn't even know how anyone found out about them. Confused, he frantically searched for information about the buyer, but there was nothing. Just a nameless company that had transferred the ownership to Tesla. To Elon Musk. At Tesla's headquarters, Elon Musk frowned as he skimmed through an unexpected email from his legal team. New patents acquired, solid-state battery prototype, extreme efficiency, unknown seller. Elon wasn't a man who liked surprises, but as he flipped through the documentation, something caught his eye. The engineer's name. Ethan Carter. The same Ethan who worked tirelessly in the research division. The same Ethan who had shown promise but had been drowning under financial pressure. Elon wasn't just intrigued, he was impressed. Without hesitation, he made a decision that would change Ethan's life forever. He called his assistant. "Find Ethan. Now." Ethan walked into Elon Musk's office, still dazed. The last 24 hours had been a whirlwind. Money in his account. His patents sold. His work now owned by Tesla. And now, a sudden summons from the man himself. Elon turned, staring at Ethan with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "You were about to quit, weren't you?" Elon asked. Ethan swallowed hard. "Yes," Elon smirked. "Well, that would have been a mistake, because what you've built, it's going to change everything." Ethan barely had time to process the words before Elon extended his hand. "Congratulations. You're being promoted to lead this project. Effective immediately." Ethan's world tilted. Just yesterday, he was packing his bags, preparing to leave everything behind. Now, he was in charge of his own invention, backed by Tesla itself. Who had done this? Who had bought the patents? Who had saved him from ruin? Ethan dug through every document, every transaction, but the trail always ended at the mysterious, nameless company. Whoever had done this had wanted to stay hidden. But fate had other plans, because across the country, Keanu Reeves was about to meet Elon Musk for the first time. And the truth? It was about to come out. Elon Musk rarely took meetings outside of Tesla's core projects. But when his assistant mentioned a private investor interested in clean energy innovation, he raised an eyebrow. "This guy is different," his assistant had said. "He doesn't want credit, doesn't even want publicity, just wants to help." Elon leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "Who is he?" The assistant hesitated. His team wouldn't say, but you'll recognize him. That was how, 3 days later, Elon found himself sitting in a quiet private lounge in Los Angeles, waiting for a mystery guest. The door opened, and in walked Keanu Reeves. Elon blinked. Of all the people he expected, John Wick was not one of them. Keanu smiled, that same calm, almost monk-like presence he carried everywhere. He extended a hand. "Elon, good to meet you." Elon shook it, still processing what was happening. "So, you're the investor?" Keanu chuckled. "Not exactly." He leaned forward. "I'm just a guy who believes in the right people getting the right chances." Elon studied him. He had met billionaires, tech geniuses, world leaders. But Keanu, he was different. No ego, no hidden agenda, just something raw, something real. "You bought the patents, didn't you?" Elon asked. Keanu didn't answer. He just smiled. Silence hung between them. Then Elon spoke again, softer this time. "Why?" Keanu finally leaned back. His expression turned nostalgic. "Because once," he said, "I wanted to be an engineer." Elon frowned. Keanu Reeves? An engineer? That didn't make sense. But then Keanu continued. "Before Hollywood, before everything, I was obsessed with physics, engineering. I wanted to build things. I used to take apart motorcycles, computers, anything I could get my hands on." Elon listened, intrigued. "But life had other plans," Keanu said with a small smile. "Acting found me first, and before I knew it, the dream of being an inventor," he exhaled. It faded. He looked directly at Elon. "But that doesn't mean I stopped believing in inventors." For the first time in years, Elon Musk was speechless. Here was a man who had everything: fame, fortune, legacy. And yet, he had used his influence not to make himself richer, but to help an unknown engineer keep his dream alive. No press, no recognition, just pure belief in the future. Elon finally spoke, shaking his head with a small laugh. "You know, Keanu, you and I, we're not so different." Keanu grinned. "I know." A week later, Ethan Carter sat in his new Tesla office, still adjusting to the fact that he now ran his own project. But one question still haunted him. Who had saved him? The anonymous buyer, the mysterious investor, the person who had changed his life. Then, one night, as he left the office, he noticed a small envelope taped to his desk. No name, no sender. Just one word written on the front. Believe. Ethan's breath hitched. It was the same message from that first email. Hands shaking, he tore it open. Inside was a note. A single sentence. Your invention belongs to the world. Use it well. K.R. Ethan froze. K.R. His mind raced, his heart pounded, and then, like a lightning strike, he knew. His legs nearly gave out as he whispered the name under his breath. Keanu Reeves. Ethan never met Keanu, never got to thank him, but he didn't need to, because Keanu hadn't done it for gratitude. He had done it for the future. Years later, when Ethan's solid-state battery became the industry standard, changing the way the world powered its vehicles, he always carried that note in his wallet. A reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts come from those who expect nothing in return. And somewhere, away from the spotlight, Keanu Reeves watched it all unfold, smiling, knowing he had done the right thing. Ethan Carter tried to move on. He had everything he had ever wanted: recognition, funding, and the chance to revolutionize energy storage. But one thing wouldn't let him sleep at night: Keanu Reeves. The name burned in his mind like a secret too powerful to keep. Why him? Why would a Hollywood legend care about an unknown engineer? Ethan needed answers, and there was only one way to get them. He started small, searching for public records, investment history, anything that linked Keanu to the battery patent sale. Nothing. Keanu had covered his tracks too well. But then Ethan had an idea. What if Keanu had helped others? He dug into anonymous donations, whispers of people who had been saved by a mysterious benefactor. And slowly a pattern emerged: a struggling artist whose paintings suddenly found buyers, a scientist whose medical research had been saved at the last moment, a musician who was about to sell his guitar, until an anonymous gift arrived, and now an engineer who almost lost everything. One name connected them all: K.R. It wasn't just him. Keanu had been doing this for years. Ethan finally found a way in, a charity gala in Los Angeles where Keanu was scheduled to attend. He wasn't invited, but that didn't stop him. Dressed in his best suit, Ethan snuck into the event, weaving through the high-profile guests until he spotted him. Keanu stood near the balcony, looking out over the city, alone, at peace. Ethan took a breath and walked up beside him. "I know what you did." Keanu didn't react. He simply smiled, eyes still on the skyline. "I do a lot of things. You'll have to be more specific." Ethan clenched his fists. "You saved me. You bought my patents. You changed my life." Keanu finally turned, studying him. "And what if I did?" "Why?" Ethan's voice cracked. "Why me? Why help people in secret?" Keanu sighed, running a hand through his hair. Then, after a long pause, he finally answered. "Because someone once did it for me." Ethan stared. "What?" Keanu's gaze darkened, lost in old memories. "There was a time," he said quietly, "when I had nothing, before I made it, before fame. I was just another kid with dreams and no way to reach them." Ethan listened, heart pounding. "And then, out of nowhere, someone gave me a chance. Someone who didn't want credit, who just believed in me. I never found out who they were." His eyes met Ethan's, "But I swore I'd do the same for others." Ethan was speechless. Keanu clapped a hand on his shoulder. "You don't owe me anything. Just make something great." Then, with that signature, effortless grace, Keanu turned and vanished into the crowd. Ethan never saw Keanu again, but he never forgot. He poured everything into his work, ensuring that Keanu's silent investment wasn't wasted. And when the time came, when he met a young, struggling engineer on the verge of quitting, Ethan smiled, pulled out a check, and wrote 2 simple letters in the memo, K.R., because some gifts are meant to be passed on. Years passed. Ethan Carter's battery had transformed the energy industry, and he had become a well-known figure in the tech world. But something still haunted him, Keanu's words. "Because someone once did it for me." Who had helped Keanu? Who was the original silent investor? Ethan had to know, and that was how he found himself sitting in a dimly lit library, poring over decades-old financial records, chasing a ghost. Until he found it, a single anonymous donation made in 1984. The year Keanu was a struggling young actor, the money had come from a nameless trust fund. But the signature? It made Ethan's blood run cold. Elon Musk. Ethan couldn't breathe. It didn't make sense. Keanu had saved Ethan because someone had once saved Keanu, and that person was Elon Musk, the very man who had unknowingly benefited from Keanu's generosity decades later. It was a perfect loop, a chain of silent investors, each one paying it forward without ever knowing that they were part of something much bigger. Ethan leaned back, staring at the old documents, his hands shaking. How many lives had been changed by this unseen force? And more importantly, who would be next? Somewhere across the city, Keanu Reeves smiled to himself, because he already knew the answer, because the cycle was never meant to end. Ethan sat in stunned silence, staring at the initials EM on the old document. Elon Musk had unknowingly started a chain reaction decades ago. Had he ever realized it? Had Keanu ever known who helped him? Or was this just the universe's way of keeping the cycle alive? Ethan didn't know, but one thing was clear. This couldn't stop with him. He picked up his phone and dialed. A young voice answered, shaky and uncertain. "Hello?" Ethan smiled. "Hey, I read about your research. It's brilliant. What if I told you you're not alone? And the cycle continues, because some gifts are never meant to be repaid, only passed forward." Ethan didn't stop at just one call. He started looking, really looking, for those on the brink of giving up. Engineers, scientists, innovators, people with world-changing ideas, but no way to bring them to life. At first, it was just a few quiet investments, anonymous grants, patents bought and gifted, a whisper network of belief. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the recipients, a young woman developing a self-sustaining desalination system, posted online about the mystery investor who had saved her work. The post went viral. Who is KR? The secret investor, changing lives. Theories exploded. Some thought it was a billionaire, others thought it was an underground tech fund. Only a few people in the world knew the truth, and one of them, Keanu Reeves himself, watched from the shadows with a knowing smile. Ethan's phone rang. A private number, he answered. "Hello?" A familiar, calm, amused voice spoke. "So you really went and did it, huh?" Ethan froze. "Keanu?" A low chuckle. "I told you, just make something great." A pause. Then, "I didn't expect you to start a revolution." Ethan exhaled. "It's not a revolution, it's just keeping the cycle alive." Keanu was silent for a moment, then he said, "Meet me." Ethan arrived at a quiet private warehouse in Los Angeles. Inside, a room full of people, not just scientists, not just engineers, but thinkers, builders, dreamers, and at the center, Keanu Reeves. Beside him, Elon Musk. Ethan's breath caught. They both knew. Elon folded his arms. "You figured it out," Ethan nodded. "You started it," Elon smirked. "Not intentionally." He glanced at Keanu. "But I guess things have a way of coming full circle." Keanu leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "So what's next?" Ethan swallowed, looked around the room, looked at the future sitting in front of him. Then he smiled. "We build the impossible, a movement that would change the world, one unseen miracle at a time, because some legends don't wear capes, some just believe. And pass it on." The world had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. While corporations fought for patents, while billionaires chased the next big trend, a hidden network was quietly rewriting the future. Ethan Carter, Keanu Reeves, Elon Musk. And now? Others? A Nobel-winning scientist who had once been on the verge of quitting. A former astronaut funding private space research in secret. A musician who used his fortune to fund radical clean energy startups. They weren't investing for profit. They were investing in people. They called themselves the silent investors. Meetings were never scheduled. There were no official records. But if you were a young innovator struggling to bring a world-changing idea to life, you might wake up one day to find a mysterious wire transfer, a research grant you never applied for, a patent purchased and handed back to you, free of charge, a single note in an unmarked envelope. Believe. No names, no credit, no press. Only impact. For every visionary the silent investors helped, there were those who wanted to stop them. Corporate giants, government agencies, tech monopolies who thrived on controlling innovation. Because the real battle wasn't just about technology. It was about who got to shape the future. And Ethan, Keanu, and Elon, they had just become a threat. Late one night, Ethan received an email. No subject line, no sender, just one sentence. "You're stepping on the wrong toes." And attached, a photo of him and Keanu at their last meeting. Someone knew. Someone was watching. And the silent investors? They had just made their first enemy. Ethan Carter stared at the mysterious email. "You're stepping on the wrong toes." The attached photo sent chills down his spine. It was a clear warning. Someone knew, someone powerful, and whoever they were, they wanted the silent investors stopped. A week later, Keanu, Elon, and Ethan met in a secluded Tesla research facility. The air was tense. "I knew this would happen eventually," Elon said, scanning the email on Ethan's phone. "We're disrupting too much. Someone is losing money because of us." Keanu leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "So what do we do? Hide?" Ethan shook his head. We do the opposite. We go public." Elon raised an eyebrow. "Public?" Ethan nodded. "They're attacking us from the shadows because we operate in the shadows. If we bring the silent investors into the light, we take away their power." Keanu smirked. "So, instead of being ghosts, we become a movement?" Elon grinned. "I like it." And just like that, the silent investors stepped into the world stage. A month later, the world tuned in to a live-streamed announcement from Tesla's headquarters. Elon Musk stood at the podium. Beside him, Keanu Reeves and Ethan Carter. The internet went insane. Elon Musk and Keanu Reeves? What's happening? Are they starting a company together? Why is a Hollywood actor standing next to the world's biggest tech mogul? Then Elon spoke. "For years, we have silently supported innovators, scientists, engineers, dreamers who were on the verge of giving up. Today, we're making it official." Keanu stepped forward. "This isn't about fame. This isn't about money. It's about giving brilliant minds a chance." Ethan took the mic. "We are the silent investors, and we are just getting started." The world erupted. Some cheered, some doubted, some panicked. But one thing was clear. The future had just changed forever. That night, after the announcement, Ethan sat in his office, exhausted yet exhilarated. Then his phone buzzed. A private delivery, no sender, just a small aged envelope. He opened it. Inside was an old yellowed note. The handwriting was familiar. Sometimes the best investments aren't in money. They're in people. Pass it on. NT. Ethan's hands trembled. NT? He had seen those initials before. Everywhere. On early records of Tesla's startup funding, on old Hollywood donations, even on Keanu's mysterious scholarship fund from years ago. Whoever this NT was, they were the original silent investor. Ethan's heart pounded. Was this even bigger than they imagined? Had this been happening for generations? He didn't know. But one thing was certain, it was his turn to keep the cycle alive. He smiled, folded the note, and tucked it into his pocket. The silent investors didn't stop. More ideas were funded, more lives were changed, and the world, unknowingly, moved toward a brighter future. Not because of governments, not because of corporations, but because a few people chose to believe in something greater than themselves. And somewhere in the shadows, the real NT watched, smiling. Because the plan had always been bigger than any one person. The silent investors weren't just a movement anymore. They were a legacy.